On this computer here, I decided to install every single version of Sony Vegas Pro. And I'm going to be starting with the newest one, which is Sony Vegas Pro 22. Alright, I'm going to start this new project, and actually, this UI is very different from what I remembered. Oh, and wow, look at that mouse cursor. Insane right now. So in the basic editing standpoint, really not much has changed. Cutting and splitting is the same. I think these buttons here have changed in style a little bit. Also, this version of Sony Vegas actually uses a pretty dark color scheme, and you'll see this change as we go to the older versions. But now let's add some effects. Wonder what kind of effects we got here. You can see there's a whole lot of effects here. AI colorization? Oh crap, okay. Well, that doesn't work. Color grading. I wonder what kind of color grading features the Sony Vegas Pro has. Oh wow, look at this color grading menu. God damn. You will see this color grading menu get progressively worse and worse as this video goes on. I'm gonna add some text now. Now I do have prior knowledge with Sony Vegas, like Sony Vegas 14, and they used to have legacy text. Alright, I'm putting subtitles here. Alright, let's move on to Sony Vegas Pro 21. I think that this starting screen is a little bit different, and also you can see this options have been moved here. Vegas Pro 21 still has all the AI stuff. There's still all the titles and texts. I'm gonna try making something here. What's a strawberry blossom font? Very generic looking font. I think I've seen my mom using it. Got that outline there. I mean, what can I say? Not much has changed. So now let's move on to Sony Vegas 20. 20 has a slightly different icon with almost sort of like an outline. This actually looks exactly the same. And you can see there's still the same 4 old interface types in Sony Vegas Pro 20. Oh wow, you can actually see there are quite a bit less effects in here. There was some like in here as well. What's Tiny Planet? Oh. See, color grading is the same. You can see how the color grading features are the exact same. Alright, now I'm actually curious. Let's move on to Sony Vegas Pro 19. And this is different, of course, again. I don't think I got that new splash screen intro now. I think it's just different. Oh yeah, you can see here now it's just that old one. Alright, I'm putting subtitles here. And I think there are only a little bit less. Also, I forgot to mention the AI effects are gone. So now let's go back even further to Sony Vegas 18. So you can see in between Sony Vegas 15 and Vegas 18, the design language stayed practically the exact same. Almost copying Adobe. So let's start with Vegas 18. And you can see here in Sony Vegas 18, the actual color scheme is a little bit different. And you can see this color scheme is what's considered as dark, even though this isn't as dark as the dark color scheme in Sony Vegas Pro 19. You can see that there's still no legacy text option in Sony Vegas Pro 18. You can see now how the tracks themselves look a little bit different. Beforehand, these buttons were actually on the bottom, but now there's like a border on the top and they've been moved to the top. There are the exact same amount of effects in 18 as there are in 19. Also, you can see the color grading option looks a little bit different. You can see that's actually black and white. These color wheels do look a little bit different too. I think Sony Vegas 22 did have a whole list of different LUTs you could choose from, but this has nothing. Alright, moving down a level, we have Sony Vegas Pro 17. Now you can see the UI looks practically the same. There are also even fewer effects in this version. The way these effects are laid out though is a bit different. You can see they're in terms of folders instead of individual buttons. And you can see the color grading icon got its color back, and track motion has been moved to a different area of the menu, so that's kind of interesting. Let's look at color grading here. The color grading menu looks largely the same. What about Sony Vegas Pro 16? Color scheme's the same, and I suppose Sony Vegas Pro 16 is the last to have the legacy text. You may or may not actually recognize a lot of these. You can see it's just the normal Arial with the shadow there. Another one you may recognize is Hot, if you watch old KSI. So there you go. Another titler is actually Prototype Titler. It's one of those legacy ones. Look at this. Look at that cool UI. Look at that. It's almost like a plugin. It looks so polished. And I don't know if there are any less effects here than there were in the previous version, but the next version is going to be Sony Vegas Pro 15. So you can see that the UI is pretty much the same. Hasn't really changed for the last 3 generations that we checked out. Oh yeah, there's visibly less effects here than there were in Sony Vegas Pro 16. I can't find color grading in here. So you can see we got color corrector, and also you can see under tools there is no color grading. Pretty much all the same stuff. Now that looks really old. You can see we got the color curves in there as well. Alright, so now let's go back to a very familiar past. And we're gonna go back to Sony Vegas Pro 14. It's a pretty recognizable icon. And you can see Sony Vegas Pro 14 looks very different. And this is when you'll see the UI really start to sort of devolve, I guess, in a way. In the player here, there's actually way more buttons. This version in particular, I'm so familiar to it because I used to use it. And you can see when I go into preferences, there are only 2 rows instead of 3. There's actually a checkbox that says use Vegas color scheme, and I tried unchecking this before, and it's actually just white instead of this gray color. Oh, and what's interesting now is these controls here have been moved back to the bottom, and you can see there are quite a lot of effects in here. That was a voice crack. Not a sharpen effect. Yeah, there we go. So now let's move down to Sony Vegas Pro 13. And you can see the splash screen actually looks a lot newer. I don't know, but it looks like the color has gotten ever so slightly lighter compared to 14. Let's check out these effects here. There does seem to be pretty much the same amount of effects, but you can see here, all of the effects start with Sony instead of Vegas. So that's kind of interesting. Moving down now is Sony Vegas Pro 12. The splash screen has the friggin' rounded corners again. And the UI now does look a little bit different again. You can see these tabs here do look a little bit different. You can see there are a lot less effects here, especially a lot less head film effects. There are a lot less buttons down here though, and a lot more buttons up here. Moving down now to Sony Vegas Pro 11. Now for some reason, Sony Vegas Pro 11 didn't actually support the video that I took on my Canon FS100 camcorder, so I used an AVI clip instead. 720p. You can see these buttons are actually laid out vertically instead of horizontally, so that's pretty interesting. And also you can see these don't have their individual icons. There are a lot less effects here too. So moving down now, we have Sony Vegas Pro 10. This one, you can see here, came out in 2010. And actually, that is a 3:2 aspect ratio display. This is not a 16:9 preview. And for some reason, the camcorder footage that didn't work on 11 actually suddenly started working on 10. This is laid out differently now. Now there are 4 different text options here. It's not legacy text anymore, it's just text. Sony Vegas Pro 10 had other legacy stuff, so I'm assuming this is even older text presets. This is like really truly legacy stuff. Wait, how do you move it? Oh, you can do it just by doing that. You can see there are quite a lot less effects now. Yeah, this is like legacy stuff. Oh, look at that. Alright, moving down now. Let's go down to Sony Vegas 9. Pretty similar icon convention here. And wow, Sony Vegas 9 still has that flippin' gray color scheme. And what's also interesting is it seems like the viewport buttons have been removed and they've actually been placed at the top instead. This change only lasted for one version. Let's check up on our prototype titler. I wonder if that's different. That's so polished. You can pan and zoom in it too. These two effects, they look the exact same, but for some reason, defocus has a completely different design language to it. You still got that legacy text, which isn't legacy at this point. So moving down a little bit further, we have Sony Vegas Pro 8 from 2007. And you can see now, finally, we don't have that gray color scheme anymore. Doesn't that look pleasing to the eyes? It still looks largely similar to how it does now, but this version of the software is from 17 years ago. You can see there's a lot fewer effects. I'm just going to go to Sony Vegas Pro 7, and then I'm just going to show you what that looks like. You can see here, this is a different layout. You can see that the timeline has been moved up to the top. So I attempted to move the timeline back to the bottom, which didn't work at all. I'm gonna have to live with it. You can see there are quite a lot less effects now. And a lot of the effects you know and love are now gone. But you can see here there's no prototype titler. But now let's try Sony Vegas 6. And you can see now there are only 3 options here. The plugin needed to read the file is not registered. Oh, you piece of shit. And then I spent quite a long time trying to find a single video on my computer that Sony Vegas Pro 6 actually supported. AVI should work. For some reason there's no video. Oh, that does not work either. Let's go back even further to Sony Vegas 5. And you can see now, if I go to File, it just says Import Media. There's no, like, secondary menu. There are actually as many effects as there were in Vegas 6. But now let's move down to Vegas 4. Now, these older versions from version 4 down isn't actually even owned by Sony. It's actually owned by a different company called Sonic Foundry, which is a company that doesn't even exist anymore. But let's open Vegas 4. You can see it's Sonic Foundry. Looks very different. The first change that you'll notice is that this is actually different. Timecode thing here. I'm actually surprised to see that these are still legacy plugins and you still have all of these text. Let's import some videos. Oh, that's right, I can't. I don't have any videos that actually work with this. And I didn't actually end up finding any. The only thing that worked was images. Let's see if this is any different. Oh wow, look at that. It is ever so slightly different. And to prove how similar both of these menus are, here it is side by side with Vegas 22. You can see when I'm trying to drag this, it's weird because it looks like I'm just trying to select, but at the same time I'm also dragging the playhead. Also, do you see that? All keyframes have this weird Bezier curve by default. Smoothness is set to 100%. There, now it's just normal. And you can see all these effects. Instead of saying Sony, it says Sonic Foundry. It adds film grain to it. Obviously you can see there is still a ton of transitions here. The way transitions work is basically the same as how it works now. Alright, let's move down even lower to Sony Vegas 3. This one's from 2001. Still a whole lot of effects here. And there's still legacy plugins. Still a ton of video effects and transitions. So let's move back one more to version 2. Now, fun fact about Vegas. Back in 1999, it was actually intended to be an audio editing software. And then it just expanded into video editing. And this right here is actually the audio version, but you can see, judging by the preview, there is still some video capabilities. Wow, you can still add keyframes. Oh wow, look at that, it's got a gradient. Now, something that you may be able to notice is that this has very, 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 very little video features. There are actually no effects. There's no effect button here. And when I intersect these, it still does the crossfades. But, as I said before, there are two different versions, the audio and the video version. So let's see what happens when I switch to the video version. Alright, so now this is the video version of Vegas 2. Alright, you can see there's this event effects button, and the second version, wow, look how little amount of effects there are in here. Finally. No adjustable parameters. What? Also, you can see there are transitions. There's a very small amount of transitions now. At last, we have reached the beginning. I'm just going to solve one curiosity that I have, and that is, does this support HD 1920 by 1080? Oh, it only supports up to 800 by 600. Wow, okay, wow. So this video took a long time to set up, obviously, because I had to find every single Sony Vegas version there is. So if you want more like this, like the video, get subscribed for more. I might do the same with other programs. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd love to, please subscribe, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Bye!